Since it concerns wealth, there will be a regulator. The regulator should be first respected. So, one disclosure and one statutory warning. Disclosure is that I am related to Margabandhu. So, it's a related party transaction. Red herring is that listening to this lecture may be injurious to your mental health. With these two things, I begin my lecture. As I start, we are out of Rahugalam also. One of the fundamental challenges, as I was sipping coffee in Sarvana Bhavan in Connaught Circle yesterday, or understanding that we have not understood what the government should do. And the government has not understood what it should not do. So whatever problem is there, we think the government is to provide the solution. And government thinks that it has to interfere or entertain all such thoughts and jump into it. My cow is not getting pregnant. Pradhan Mantri Gai Pregnancy Yojana, immediately the solution. We do not know what is Article 12 in the Constitution, how the state has emerged, what we should do with the state, and crucially, what the state should not do. A negative list clearly telling government will not do this and precisely do this is required. Now coming, I was one of those who believed and continue to believe that this government headed by Modi has a greater understanding, if not the complete understanding. The first thing, Modi, when he came, he said, I'll have 2 crore jobs, housing for all by 2022, doubling farmers' income by 23, bullet train by 23. He had so many programs with very decisive metrics. Then by 19, probably Modi realized that he will not be able to deliver this given the state of our administration and judiciary. So he said that 5 trillion economy by 24. He amalgamated the entire matrix into one number and said we will become a $5 trillion economy by 24 in 2019. And some blighter in PMO did not know the difference between real growth and nominal growth. They told Modi that we will become 5 trillion using the nominal number and without using the actual number. 24 came. The distance of $5 trillion economy is still further away. So now Modi says Viksit Bharat by 2047. Whether you will be there or he will be there, nobody knows. Shifting targets is not a sign of what is the topic given to me. Whether we will be a Viksit Bharat by 2047. The Niti Aayog has a data. Roughly said, it says that our per capita income is $2,500 in the year 24. If we have to become a Viksit Bharat, we require at least $20,000 per capita in the year 2047. So 24 to 32 we must double, 32 to 40 we must double, 40 to 48 we must double again. So 2,500 to 5,000 by 32, 10,000 by 40, 20,000 by 47. It is achievable. It is eminently possible, provided we have a growth rate of around 8%. So the sole benchmark, I think you ended your conversation by talking about trust and confidence, talks about a number of 8%. Consistently delivered for the next quarter century will make us a country which will have a lifestyle of something like contemporary Korea, South Korea, not North Korea, South Korea. So when Margabandhu asked me, we are having a program and whether you would be available to deliver this lecture, I readily agreed, and that time probably this was around 30, 40 days back. And at the core of that conversation was where the June 5th numbers put by the government of India, MOSPI, Minister of Statistics Planning. And they said India's growth rate for 24-25 and the current quarter was something around 7.5%. And they arrived at a nominal rate of 9.1%, and they did a deflator. Roughly put it in simple terms, it is accounting for inflation. They adjusted for inflation of just 1.2%, and they arrived at a growth rate of 7.9%. So this is there at the back of everybody's mind that somehow or the other we have to show a growth rate of 8%. So a growth rate of 8% is shown. It is whether it is achieved or not is the subject matter of my presentation today. Three people have been consistently flagging that these numbers are exaggerated. One is Mr. Arvind Subramanian, who was the former economic advisor to the Ministry of Finance. Other is Harvard literature. And quite a few documents has come in with statisticians from the government themselves questioning the methodology of collection of these data. The Hindu wrote an article. I'm not a favorite of Hindu, everybody knows it. But I'm quoting it for a good reason. On the editorial of June 5, 2026, look at the seriousness of the issue. It is being reported that the census enumerators in Rajasthan and Uttar Pradesh have been advised to revisit households and correct the data discrepancies and not to select options that may show the government in poor light. The specific issues that are worrying the governments are number of households with open defecation, lacking drinking water on premises, using fuels other than LPG, kacha roofs with no lighting, etc. So today, when an enumerator is entering this data in the census process, the data gets transformed into because of technology, and you have been talking about this, that is going into the dashboards of people who are monitoring it at the various bhavans that dot Delhi. They have declared India is open defecation free. But the man says, sir, morning job is done only in outside. So there is a mismatch between data which you want to see on your dashboard and what you have projected to the outside world and what is reality. That is where I would have not taken this seriously. But for the fact, a person like Jitendra Bajaj, who is the director of Center for Policy Studies, with whom I have great conversations on data, statistics and other things, he says this is dangerous if true, and he has put it in his Facebook post. A foundational global rule of census taking enshrined in the manuals of the Office of the Registrar General of India is that the enumerators records exactly what the respondent says without leading him on any direction, asking for any documentary proof or any cross-examination. The enumerator is a recorder, not an auditor. So we have hundreds of schemes. Just let me say, Make in India, Skill India, Digital India, Protection Linked Incentive Scheme, Startup India, Stand Up India, Mudra Loan, PM Kisan, Swachh Bharat Mission, Namami Gange, Beti Bachao, Beti Padhao, Ayushman Bharat, Ujjwal Yojana, Jal Jeevan Mission, Har Ghar Jal. And in this, I went into the statistics. Har Ghar Jal. They say 82% of households have a tap connection. I live in Nilangarai, one is the poshest area in Chennai. 800 meters from my home is the Chief Minister's house. We don't have tap waters. Where does 82% come in? This is something stunning. We have declared ourselves statistic. I am not attributing malice. Please understand. I am not attributing malice. I am not saying that somebody is sitting and manipulating data. I am saying that the data are not matching with ground reality. Ask any NRI. He says, oh, you do not know MRP. What a progress India has made. You do not know drinking water has come to every house. right from OMR, there is not, which is the IT hub of Chennai and probably of the state, not one building has water connection and sewerage connection. This is the truth. But we are being compelled to look into these statistics. And again, I repeat on camera that I'm not attributing malice, because for malice, you require some sense. You require some intent. This is cacophonous logic that is flowing through the government, and government must seriously audit its numbers. Now, this scholarship about India's numbers, as I said, has come through several people. And it is not that people are saying India is not growing. There is a unanimous consensus that India is one of the fastest growing. The people are putting the number at 4.5% to 5%. And I'll give you a simple number that will wake you up on a Saturday morning. When the first month of GST collection happened, 90,000 crores was supposed to be the money collected. Now we are in 26. We are struggling to collect 180,000 crores per month. We have, in 9 years, that's doubled. And all of you are people who are well versed. The magic number is 72 divided by 9. You get a compounded growth rate of 8%. Perhaps 9%. And subtract from that 9% a 5% of average inflation that goes in India. You have a 4% growth. That could be a very good growth. We need not feel ashamed about it. But we have to say that the Viksit Bharat will happen by 2067, not 2047. So what? As long as we are marching towards the journey, we need not feel ashamed about it. It may take some time. When 2047, God willing, I hope that all of us are alive to see that. But fact of the matter is, many of us will not be there. And so what? Let it be 2067. But we must achieve. But let us not get into what he said, that the trust in the numbers of the government gets questioned. If that is lost, and that is one reason why I sincerely believe, and I have a conversation with Margabandhi, where is he? He has run away? Oh, yeah. Because he knows me. So I was wondering whether he's run away from the hall. That my problem is that the FIIs are exiting. Probably one very, very important reason is the numbers of the government of India are dodgy. Of course, government has also rebutted it. But government's rebuttal is not forceful. Government rebuttal is not scholarly, it is political. When a scholarly question is posed, you must have scholars answering it. When a politician questions it, you answer it politically. That is entirely not the issue today we are talking about. You want to, if somebody like Anand Subramaniam or somebody comes in and challenges, and there are data piling up, which suggests we are not growing at 8%. Many of the matrices that the government has projected has not been available at the ground level. We are facing it, we are seeing it. The answer to this must be a point-by-point rebuttal. Not by saying that he is Soros' agent, or he is an anti-national, or he is a Chinese agent. That I completely dismiss that nonsense. Now come to the crux of the issue. As I said, this June 5th, the GDP growth for 25-26 was placed at 7.7%, and the real and the nominal GDP at 8.9%. So they said the real gross value addition grew by 7.9%, nominal GVA at 9%. They said the secondary sector grew at 8.8%, tertiary sector at 9.3%, primary, which is agriculture, grew by 3.2%, manufacturing growth was 10.7%, all of which looks to be so robust an economy. Numbers that sensationalizes growth. But the government's own statistics, now these statistics are not crafted by yours truly. These have been taken from government's own records. And let me come to that. Electricity, which will be a very good barometer of how you are growing, in the last 12 years has grown by a CAGR of 5.4%. So an economy grows at 8%, electricity growth at 5.4%.
Then railway freight grows at 4%. Diesel consumption, 2.4%. Cement production, 4.9%. Food grain, 2.8. Fertilizer, 1.9. Incidentally, agriculture growth is measured at 5%. Now, fertilizer growth at 1.9% and an agricultural food grain growth of 5% is irreconcilable. We are not able to, since cockroach is the flavor of the season, it is like drinking cockroach soup. It's not germane to modern statistics. So fertilizers growing at 7%, food grain at 5%, understandable, but it is not hitting you. Crude steel, 5.4%. Steel consumption, 7%. The best number that the government can give on a granular basis is steel consumption at 7%, whereas the economy grows at 8%. IIP General Index, it must be 2.9%. 8 Core Industries Index, 3.9%. Merchandise exports, 3.2%. Non-food bank credit is 11%. Industry credit grows at 5.1%. None of the statistics is at 10%. But government declares that you are at 8%. So a man goes and says to a doctor that my wife has a kidney problem. He says, okay, what happened to your son? The son has had a fractured arm. What happened to your daughter? She broke her limb. No, he says, why don't you give me some positive news? The man says, I'm HIV positive. That is the only positive I can give you. So you see that the crux of the issue is, it is not that the government doesn't know this. These are, please don't mistake that I have culled out these numbers from some sources and have fitted in for my argument. It is not a lawyer's argument. It is basically an economist's argument that I'm making today. In the court, I would have made a different argument. I concede. But this argument that I'm making is government's own physical numbers is not matching with the macroeconomic picture that it is trying to portray, and there is a difference of 2 to 2.5%, which the government can be honest about, admit, and go forward. Or these numbers are wrong, in which case there seems to be serious problems in the way we conduct surveys, pick up statistics, and I come back to what the learned speaker said before me, that there is building of trust and confidence is crucial. Macroeconomic numbers are not merely headline numbers. They are the way sovereign ratings are conducted, where your policies are being tailored, manufactured, and crafted for the next few years. And you want to know what is the feedback from what you have done on every single rupee that you spend. It cannot be that you just put the headline number and be irreverential about it. It's too sacred, too sacrosanct for us to leave this at this stage. And there is also one other problem. It is not that the FIIs' own problems are there. Now, according to various reports and statistics, India's debt in balance sheets is one of the lowest in the last 35 years. Sorry. The corporate debt to the balance sheet is one of the lowest. I do not know the percentages, but various people put it at one of the lowest in the last 35 years. That means corporate India does not want to borrow. On top of it, they are sitting, according to again some reports, you are on top of numbers on these type of 10 lakh crores is the cash balance available with corporate India. And they are not investing. And why are they not investing? Because probably they are not as sanguine as the political classes. They, of course, they come and say on the TV all goody things. Of course, they have their soft underbelly and they do not want a notice from any of these departments in the government. But it is a fact that corporate India's investment or cash balance, which is of course subject to corrections, the numbers that I'm not so particularize that number, but I would definitely concede that they are sitting in tons of cash and reluctant to invest. So that raises a question, where is manufacturing coming in? Electricity is not growing up. No new great factories are coming in. And where is the manufacturing coming? Who is manufacturing? What are they manufacturing? And the biggest elephant in the room, which nobody talks about, is the Chinese imports. We have a trade of around $130 billion. And you will be surprised that the statistics in the Indian embassy at Beijing flaunts these numbers very, very proudly, that we are importing $125 billion worth of goods from China and exporting $25 billion to China. And we are conducting a trade of around $150 billion, and we are running a trade deficit of $100 billion. In a $3 trillion economy, we are running a trade deficit of $100 billion, that is 3% with China. Unimaginable, unacceptable. Why that is happening? Nobody is going into the deep dive in policy. A deep dive in the policy is required as to why we are importing. And this has been happening for the last 20 years. This has not come about overnight. This is not like Jantar Mantar protest, suddenly some cockroaches has come in. This is there, it is there in Janpat right through for the last 20 years. Numbers would have been lower during Manmohan Singh's time. In Modi's time, it has reached this stage. And what we are importing? Prime Minister says that we are importing Ganesha for Vinayaka Chaturthi, and he says the eyes are not fully open, implying these are having Chinese features. This is the Prime Minister's statement, not mine. We are importing holy powder during Holi from China. And why? Is because there is a stress on MSMEs. And the MSME stress, I would only relate to two things: extraordinary, regressive, coercive compliances on MSMEs. GST must have been devised in CIA, KGB, Mossad, Chinese PLA, all came together and they decided to kill this country with one single law called GST for MSMEs. It may be very, very romantic to say one nation, one law and other things, but the type of compliances that we have placed on MSMEs is extraordinarily regressive. GST is something that we need to revisit. Compliances. The new companies law, 2013. Of course, it has been watered down. A lot of things have changed. But unless we start making those type of compliances, what does government do with data? Rajesh Exports taught us what can be done. And there will be hundreds of Rajesh Exports in this country. And these Rajesh Exports makes this 8% growth. Please understand that. Of course, if you go through some of these physical economy cross checks, 12 years back, we had 70 lakh tourist arrivals. We're just having 100 lakhs. So the tertiary sector growth that we are also talking about, some of the benchmark, of course, lawyers' fees has gone up, I must confess. So that has gone up tremendously, and if you disagree also, I will say this, because if you come to me, I will charge you excessively. So that I will protect. But beyond that, numbers, if you see, and government is giving another statistics which is bewildering. I was asking Margi the other day. We were talking about something like how many billions of UPI transactions? We were talking 29 billion UPI transactions per month, something. That means cash circulation in the economy has also to come down. We are having 45 lakh crores of M1 currency circulating. Why should we have so much of currency circulation when we have so much of UPI transaction? And we say UPI is a success. It is a success. But from a macroeconomic point of view, whether this has lowered M3 velocity, this has brought down the currency in circulation in case of M1, has not happened. So we are paying, so the government does not give you the number of value in the transaction. It says the number of transactions. So I will go to one dhania shop and take, my wife pays 10 rupees dhania purchase in UPI. But 50 lakh rupees bribe can be collected by cash. There are some blighters in government who take money by cash also. By UPI also, sorry. So there is a huge problem in terms of numbers. I am not, again, repeat, I am not putting this as the call has come from PMO. The call has come from PMO. This is not the organizers, this is the PMO calling and not cross the Lakshman Rekha.
You have got 5 minutes.
Yeah. Enough for me to do more damage. Our debt, which was around 55 lakh crores when this government took over, the nominal GDP was around 100 lakh crores. So 55 to 100, it was like for every 2 rupees you borrowed, you had 1 rupee of GDP. But now you are borrowing 2 rupees, or rather 1 rupee, you are not able to generate more than 1 rupee. This is again a problem that debt to GDP ratio may look on the face of it looks to be very good. But the GDP increase to the net accretion of debt is not having the same force. Obviously, it is not. It is slowing down. This is a worrying part because net the budget has very little elbow space. If those of you are devout Christians, my apologies, but I always say the finance minister has as much elbow room as Jesus Christ has on the cross. Because interest is 25%, your salaries and wages is 20%, your subsidy takes some 15-20%, schemes take 20-25%. What is there to budget? You can take a local bus ticket, on the reverse of it, you can write the budget. There is nothing in the budget. There is nothing to budget. Everything is fixed. Only thing you change it from Mahatma Gandhi Yojana to Nehru Yojana, Nehru to Savarkar Yojana. You can do those type of rechristening. But actual delivery is not happening. I will close with only one thing. There are 5 security members in the United Nations Security Council. Britain, America, France, China, Russia. Britain in 1646, America in 1776, France in 1789, China in 1950s, Russia in 1970. All had a bloody revolution. And they became on top of the world. China had Tiananmen Square. And it had a state which had the resolve to sort out dissidents. I am not saying that our way is the way forward or we cannot do it without the Chinese way. But think about it. If you have to be a superpower, can we have a Tiananmen Square in Janpath? It may be a necessity. We may not be ready to do it. I'm not advocating it. Please understand, I'm not ready to advocate that type of harsh measures. But that is only a metaphor that are we ready to take hard decisions on administrative side, on the judiciary side, lest we will achieve at the goal like a passenger train, not like a Vande Bharat. Thank you very much. And any question?
One question I would like to ask.
This is insider trading.
See, number of governments, right from the Manmohan times, have been talking about taking the manufacturing to GDP from 12-13% to 25%. Why is that we are not able to go to that even now?
Your manufacturing is like a discipline in a society that comes with so many factors like education, skill, culture, and of course, training. Imparting training, showing importance of, like the Japanese. Now, when you say 8 o'clock, they don't mean 7:59 or 8:01. When we mean 8 o'clock, we mean somewhere before 12 o'clock. Okay. So, I'm not saying this is a cultural part. But take our, even the best of IITians, like his, he would not, IIT, IIMs, do not want to go into manufacturing. And you are not getting skilled people who are trained culturally to do manufacturing. And manufacturing only happens in pockets like Tirupur, like Karur, various places which has grown up organically, not synthetically by government's efforts. So government must first say that we will not get into manufacturing at all, but help these type of organic places to go. Why not Tirupur, which exports around $6 billion, have an airport? But we don't do that. But rather we would like to say that we will have a SIPCOT in Parandur. And Parandur SIPCOT will be a failure like all SIPCOT places. And it will finally end up in retail trading, the real estate trading. Any other question?
Anybody want to ask anything? Otherwise, we can close this.
Yes.
So, I have a question for you. So, if the government has this Viksit Bharat goal for 2047, I'm sure we have our heart over there. But what do you think is one uncomfortable truth that the policymakers might be avoiding that we've set this far goals?
I have put it very bluntly. We refuse to take hard decisions. Decisions are still being made, keeping in mind so many other factors. We are not ready to take the dip in icy waters. We just are hallucinating and thinking that things will go well. Judicial reforms, administrative reform, we can talk about endlessly. But when your own statistics department shows so many, shall I say, discrepancies, there is not one soul to come about and answer small discrepancies. So we are ducking rather than facing it head on. With this, I thank you all for a very patient hearing on a Saturday morning. Thank you very much.